Today we're going to be talking about changes in demand. Our previous time we talked about a change in quantity demanded, and that's movement from one point to another on a fixed demand curve. It's also referred to as a schedule. So if you take a look at the graph, you can see that at $4, the quantity demanded was 2, but at $2, the quantity demanded was 4. It occurs when there's a price change and everything else remains constant. And they're inverse mainly because of those three reasons we talked about, price being the biggest factor, diminishing marginal utility was the second reason, and then the income effect. So our example is if the price of donuts fell from $1 to 75 cents, the quantity demanded for donuts would increase from 1,000 to 1,200 dozen, and that's indicated by downward movement on the demand curve. And then the reverse would be true as well. So if the price goes up, fewer people demand the whatever the item is, and again, this could be pretty much any item from pizza to cars to whatever. So this is movement along the curve, and it occurs when there's a change in price. So now we're going to look at the entire curve moving, and that's called a change in demand. So the entire schedule is either shifting to the right, which is an increase in demand, or it shifts to the left, which is a decrease in the demand. Price will be staying constant, so that's not why it's moving. So again, that rightward shift is an increase in demand, leftward is a decrease, and it's called the 5 determinants of demand, and that determines whether an entire schedule moves right, which could be, our class of 35 students, or it could be the city of Fort Collins, or it could state of Colorado, etc., and the entire curve is moving. So the first thing that's going to cause a change in demand, entire curve shifting, is simply consumer tastes or preferences. We've got some old-fashioned bikes, which I don't think people would want, so that's probably the demand curve for that would be shifting left, kind of crazy picture. Flip phones, most of us prefer smartphones, so I think the demand for flip phones shifted to the left. I think, what is this called, a hoverboard or Segway, or I don't even know. Probably went to the right for a bit, maybe is left, I'm not sure. I'd say the demand for toilet paper, consumers wanted more toilet paper when the COVID-19 started, and so there was a huge shift in demand for toilet paper to the right. So it could just be, whatever product. Do people like it? Did the news change about it? Was there some kind of information? A few years ago, we had a problem with romaine lettuce, and so a lot fewer consumers were buying it because it got contaminated. So there was a and that was all in the news. So there's a big demand shift for romaine lettuce to the left. The second thing that will shift demand left to right is number of buyers. If there are less buyers in the market, it goes to the left. If there are more buyers in the market, it shifts demand to the right. So my mom grew up in a town of 300, Dodge, Nebraska. I'm thinking you never heard of it. And she went to a school, and I don't know how many kids it had, but so many people have left the community. The town used to have a florist and a bakery and a couple restaurants and a bowling alley and the high school. They even closed the high school, and they merged with 4 other small community high schools. And so this was a small farm community, and people have left the farming industry. We have a lot fewer farmers than we did 60, 70 years ago. Fort Collins has had a lot more buyers moving into the market, so it shifted demand right. CSU continues to grow. We had expansion with some different industries here, Woodward and some technical industries. Pharmaceutical businesses have grown in Fort Collins. So we've had more people move to Fort Collins, so the demand for a lot of products shifts to the right because we have more people. Then the third determinant of demand is income. And this has to do with people's income, consumers or buyers, the demand schedule. So the first thing is a normal good. It's also referred to as a superior good. I usually refer to it as normal, but consumers buy more as their income goes up. So demand increases when they have more money to spend. So let's say I get a pay raise, and so I'm more likely to buy steak than hot dogs. Most products fall in this category: furniture, electronic, cars, you name it. So most of the time, if your income goes up, you buy more of that good, so that the demand for that good would shift to the right. My friend Lori works in Steamboat, and so if you get a pay raise, you might take a ski vacation in Steamboat. An inferior good is consumers buy less as these less of these goods as their income increases. So if I make more money, I'm more likely to maybe eat at Cafe Mex instead of Burger King, or I'm more likely so the demand for those as so it's an inverse relationship between them. So right now we're seeing a lot of people's income going down. Hopefully your family hasn't been affected too harshly on that. My husband's on furlough, and that means he's no longer a full-time employee at the Colorado, and so he has a full week where he doesn't work and he doesn't get paid. So my household income has gone down. And so I'm not buying new furniture, I'm not buying a new phone. So the demand for a lot of goods in my household has shifted left. I might go to Walmart more because it might be more affordable. So that's the income effect and how it relates to a normal good versus an inferior good. Some examples of inferior goods would be used clothes, retread tires, which I think is illegal now. I used to see that in Oregon. Fast food restaurants might be, I always say hot dogs. I'd much prefer to buy steak versus a hot dog would be an inferior good. Yeah. Okay, and then the fourth factor that will shift demand right or left are prices of related goods. The first thing is substitute goods, and it's the price of one and demand for the other move in the same direction. So if you're in class, I would draw two graphs right now, and I would draw one with Pepsi, and I'd either have the price, let's say I have the price of Pepsi go up. So think of that first graph that you saw in this PowerPoint. The price goes up, the quantity demanded is less, fewer people are buying it because Pepsi is more expensive. Well, I go to the grocery store, Pepsi's more expensive. Guess what? I buy Coke, because to me they're pretty interchangeable. So same thing, if the price of Nike goes up, it's movement along the curve, maybe more people switch to buying Under Armour. Colgate and Crest are the same example. I go to the store, and if Crest is cheaper, I switch from buying Colgate, so it would shift left, and the quantity demanded for Crest would increase at the lower price. So those are substitute goods. You substitute one for the other. They're pretty interchangeable. And complementary goods are the price of one good and demand for the other move in opposite directions. So a number of years ago, I was in Boulder. It's back when they had Sneagrab, and they were clearing out some really old skis. They'd never been used, but I bought a pair of brand new skis for $75. So I bought the skis, so the price was movement along that demand curve. It was cheap, so they were selling them out, so people were buying them all. And so I had to buy bindings because they wouldn't put my old bindings on my new skis. So I don't know the price of the bindings, don't remember, but I bought bindings to go with the skis because it's pretty tough to ski without bindings. When you get a new cell phone, I got a new cell phone a couple years ago, and I went out and bought a case. So when you go to the grocery store this summer, a lot of times you'll see they'll have things for barbecuing. So if the price of hamburgers, or let's say hot dogs, it's buy one, get one package free of hot dogs, right next to the hot dogs you have the buns. So the price of hot dogs might be going down, or hamburgers, and so you might buy 2 packages of it, increase in quantity demanded, movement along the curve due to the price change. And so with the lower price, you go ahead and buy buns. And the grocery store knows you do that, so they place the buns right next to those hamburgers or those hot dogs, because they know that since the hamburgers are on sale, you'll automatically buy the buns. So the demand for buns is shifting to the right. It's an increase. The price for hamburgers or hot dogs is going down. That's a change in quantity demanded. That's movement along the curve because the price is changing. And then the very last thing that will shift demand left or right is expectations, what consumers think the future holds. So if California has a freeze and people are worried that there won't be fruit in the future, we go to the grocery store now and we buy fruit. If Colorado says we're having a huge blizzard coming, so guess what? There will be a line at the gas station, and people are like, ooh, I better fill up on my gas because I don't want to be stuck out on the road in a snowstorm with no gas in my car. Company layoffs and vacation time. If people think that their company is going to lay them off, they reduce their vacation time. So, and then the last one example is natural disasters and bottled water. People go out. I lived in California for 6 years. I'm originally from Boulder, grew up there, and then I've been here for, I don't know, 25 years or so. Anyway, but if we think a natural disaster is coming, we stock up. We get bottled water, we get food supply. And so this is kind of why so many people went out and bought toilet paper and canned food. They were worried about stores shutting down. They were worried about distribution. They didn't want to be left out and not have the things that they needed at their house. So we saw lots of things shifting to the right in the grocery store because of the pandemic. Okay, let's practice and see what we think of shifting demand left or right. Remember, left is a decrease, right is an increase. Landline phones, I'd say, have shifted probably to the left. Most of us use cell phones. Gluten-free food, what do you think? Probably shifting to the right because of, I'm not sure why, but I know it's less calories and things like that. Smartwatches, I don't have one, but a lot of my friends do. I think that's probably shifting to the right, it would be my guess. Travel right now, which way has that gone? Definitely to the left. Definitely a decrease in travel right now due to government restrictions. A lot of flights have been canceled. A lot of states are prohibiting how far you can go. So travel has definitely shifted to the left. In fact, I just read an article, we're using a lot less oil, which makes gas for our cars because people aren't driving as much. So they've told producers to stop producing oil because the price is so low. CrossFit gyms, I think, has shifted to the right. That's my guess. I don't know what you guys think, but that seems to be kind of a trendy thing. Electric cars, I believe, over the past few years has shifted to the right, an increase as people try to get away from fossil fuel. And DVDs. How many of you are like, ooh, I'm going to go get a new DVD of whoever you like listening to? My guess is the demand for DVDs has shifted to the left, a decrease. Fewer people want it. So left is a decrease, right is an increase. Right is growth on the graph. Left is the industry shrinking. So hopefully that helped. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to email me at any time. Have a great day, Lobos. Bye.